Hello, Stronger Together. How are we doing tonight? I know many of you submitted questions ahead of the live, but feel free, if you're on the live, to submit anything as well. My name is SJ. I'm a certified crystal healer and shamanic earth medicine practitioner. And this is literally kind of, you call the shots. This is in your ball field of what we're going to talk about today. Many of you submitted questions ahead of the live, so I will make sure to get all of those questions answered. But any questions that you have, metaphysical related, crystal healing, shamanic earth medicine, anything, ask me all of the things that you are dying to know. So I want to make sure that this is where it needs to be. Give me just a moment to share this to my page. Also, I would be so very appreciative if any of you would be willing to share as well with anyone or any groups that you believe would benefit from this live. Just making sure everything is going here. And how is everybody doing currently in this energy? Tomorrow we are moving into the Virgo full moon. So fair warning, if you all are already, being hard on yourselves, you are going to feel some of that energy. And maybe you started feeling that energy about the last 3 days. For about the last 3 days, you have probably been feeling like you're pretty judgy of yourself. You are definitely a little bit more reactive, perhaps, with how you are really self-critical. So I want you guys to kind of pay attention to that through this Virgo full moon. So you may have seen this start about 3 days ago. You can feel it today. It's going to definitely be moving in for the next 3 days after the full moon. So full moon's tomorrow, next 4 days. You're kind of going to feel some of that self-critical information coming in. And that's something that you just want to pay attention of and be aware of what it is that you are truly kind of hard on yourself for. So pay attention to that as you're moving through this Virgo full moon, but also take advantage of it. So with Virgo, we can get a lot of self-reflection done and also a lot of perfecting, quote unquote, of the things that we want to shift and change as well. So if you are really invested in changing some things about your life, this Virgo full moon is going to be absolutely amazing for you to do that, because you are going to have the willingness to dive deep into what it is that you don't like, what is not working for you, and what is probably not serving you in this time and space as well. And then once you do that, you'll also have the open communication with your higher self to be able to really tap into that information and shift it. If you would like more information on that, don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to post here in Stronger Together as well, and I'll make sure to get to any of those questions that you have. If you have crystals that you want to work with, any of that. Definitely do not hesitate to ask questions here in this group. Janessa and I are both here to help guide you on the spiritual journey, and we love questions. We love to know what you all are interested in and where the energy is kind of taking us, so to speak. So a couple of questions that were submitted ahead of time. I'm going to jump right into it. When you jump into the live, or if you're watching on replay, please say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions that you would love to have answered as well. So the first question that I had was, what does aura quartz do for you? So the first thing that I want to say is I don't work with the coated aura quartzes. I do, though, work with natural aura quartz. This is what I mean by a natural aura quartz. This is one of them. Natural aura quartz for me is one of those that is all about cleansing that auric field and also boundary cleansing and reestablishing. Communication with yourself comes in really, really fast for me with aura quartz as well. And when I'm talking about communication with yourself, aura quartz really brings your awareness to who you actually are at a soul level, what you truly are here to do as well. So discovering that soul mission, it's going to bring all of that in for you. And when you have an understanding of who you are at a soul level, along with what you are destined to do here, you have a exponential amount of spiritual growth that comes in with it. Also, if I had to label this, I would call natural aura quartz the spiritual problem solver. If there's something you just can't quite put your finger on, you cannot quite pinpoint what your resistance perhaps is, or why you keep repeating the same processes over and over. Aura Quartz is going to bring your awareness to where that boundary issue is being violated, and also help you to cleanse and reestablish that boundary too. It's also extremely energy enhancing because it cleans out emotional baggage that is attached to things like trauma responses or familial or relational contracts. Like Aura Quartz really comes in and helps you clean out that emotional baggage that could be going on with those issues. And with that, because you're not drained from the emotional baggage, you get that boost of energy. Truly feel that energetic boost and uplifting energy from Aura Quartz. So it is freaking amazing. One of my favorites. The other odd thing that I found with it while working with it for the last 2 weeks now is spiritual protection. And I sat with this for a while of why is it coming to my head of spiritual protection? And it's due to how it centers around that root chakra, that grounding effect, and the increase that it also gives to that source or that God energy, that openness to it. So I felt protected by it because I could see through the nonsense. I could see through the verbiage that just wasn't serving me, or the things that weren't true. Like all of the items that were coming in that it wasn't reality, so to speak. So I felt that aura of protection around me because of how I was supported at both the root chakra, the crown, and the transpersonal chakras. So I felt very safe and secure working with Aura Quartz. And I think it's because of the communication that it brought in as well, due to, and by communication I mean with me, with my higher self, with my soul level being, so that I could just see the reality. I could really tap into what was going on and not have to worry about, you know, the nonsense, so to speak, the filtered air. That was the first question that was submitted. The next question was, what are the top 3 crystals to have? If you can only have 3 crystals, which crystals would you have? This is one of the hardest questions for me to answer that was submitted. And some of that probably has to do with the fact that I am a Enneagram 7 and I like to have all the things. You can see behind me there's for sure not only 3 crystals. But if I had to narrow it down to 3 crystals that I could not, well, I could survive without them. But if I could only have 3, I'm going to have all 3. So the 3 crystals that are must-haves for me, Selenite, number 1. I say Selenite because if you guys have been following me, you know how much I use Selenite within just the cleansing and sealing of the auric field. That is insanely important for hygiene, energetic hygiene, but also for home cleansing and things like that. Selenite just is such a dual purpose, and yes, this is technically satin spar, not true selenite. Doesn't matter energetically. I have not noticed a difference between the two, so they work the same. But you have that aspect of the cleansing energy even within your home, your office, your being, your pets, your family. When sickness is kind of hanging out, selenite is one that I often go to. So that one is absolutely a must-have. Next one is clear quartz. And if I get to pick a clear quartz, I'm going to pick a Lemurian clear quartz like this one. And I say a Lemurian specifically because you can still charge it just like you can any other crystal, or get it to attune or behave like any other crystal. So if you want it to behave like it's a malachite, you can ask it to entrain its energies into malachite and to perform like that, especially if you're looking for like pain relief, right? Malachite, fuchsite, amazing for pain relief. So I say that for clear quartz, but I say Lemurian because Lemurian is one of those that it really taps into your soul. It wants to get to know you, and it wants to work with you specifically. I have not found very many Lemurians that like to work with more than one person at a time. There are, I think, actually only 2 in my collection that are open to behaving in that manner. So if you really want a crystal that is there for you specifically and wants to work with you, the Lemurian clear quartz is going to be it. Now, the Lemurians do come in different things as well, like crimson Lemurians. You have the the lithium Lemurians as well. Find one, if you can only have one, that is truly just the clear quartz Lemurian, like this one. and work with it. The third crystal that for me is a must-have in this is, of course, Pneumite. You guys know how much I love Pneumite as well. If you have been following me, it is my favorite grounding stone. I love Pneumite because unlike certain other grounding stones like black tourmaline, Obsidian is another one that's pretty heavy. Hematite can be, depending upon how often you're using it. But unlike those really heavy grounding stones, Pneumite also resonates at the crown chakra along with your transpersonal chakras. So you're being supported at both levels of your being. You have top and bottom support. You're still open to receive the intuitive messages. You're still open to all of your feelings. You're not going to be blocked off from anything, but you're still going to feel that very safe and secure energy that a typical grounding crystal can provide. Pneumite is my go-to for so many genetic concerns. I've used that successfully with genetic paranoia, ADHD, ADD, so many different genetic conditions. Pneumite can really assist with those. So you guys know I'm not a medical practitioner, so metaphysical advice is what I am giving you. I am not a substitute for medical care. But Pneumite is one of those that it's easy to sleep with it too. You're not going to stay awake because of Pneumite, but you're going to have a lot of information coming in through your dreams, your dream space when working with Pneumite as well. It really is one of those intuitive download crystals that just helps bring more and more information in that is true and accurate. So it also weeds through any of the deceptive filters that can kind of come in as well. So those are my three must-haves. If I can only have three crystals, it will be clear quartz, selenite, and Pneumite. And anyone who is on, what are the top three crystals you all work with? I know there's many crystal healers here within this group as well, and many people who just love crystals and work with them. So if you want to drop in the chat what crystals you love or find yourself most often working with, drop that in the chat. Let me take a look here at the next question that was submitted. We have, what are some items that can be found in the middle world on a shamanic journey? The middle world is probably the space that I journey most often to. So if you're new to shamanic journeying, there is the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. They each hold a different space. They each hold different areas that you can transition or transform energy into something completely different than what you are working with. So for me, there's so many items, but I've narrowed it down to probably the most instrumental things that you can journey within the middle world to see. First being the Tree of Wishes. That's an amazing space that you can go to, quite honestly, to give up your wishes, right? To place wishes within the tree and see if they are received. It's something you can check back on to see if your ancestors, angels, spirit guides, source energy has left you an answer to your wish within the Tree of Wishes. Every single element is there, so you can visit, fire, earth, air. You can visit water, all of those different elements for different things. I know many shamanic practitioners during weather systems specifically will often go to, air if we're dealing, and water if we're dealing with something like a hurricane or even tsunamis. They'll visit both of those elements and see what those elements have to tell us. Why are they perhaps upset? What are they trying to shift or change? Many people can receive a lot of relief by journeying to the middle world and visiting fire element. If their homes were burned in a fire, if they've lost family members or pets to them, a lot of resolution can come by journeying to the elements to correspond with them, to see what it is that they were trying to tell us within our here and now. One thing important to keep in mind with the middle world is it is present time. So you're going to journey to the middle world specifically to resolve a present time issue. So when you're there, time is the same there. That's not true for the lower world and the upper world. Another amazing element here within the middle world is you have a sacred space. There is a space that was left by your guardians or guides, ancestors, angels, spirit guides, whatever you would like to call them. And you quite literally get to build your own sacred space within the middle world. So for instance, if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of crystals or doesn't have the financial means to get the crystals, you don't need the physical embodiment of the crystals like this. You can always create your sacred space within the middle world and have those crystals there working for you within your sacred space, because it's present time, and that's the important thing to keep in mind. You can have that sacred space, have those Lemurians, have that really expensive Ahawite, and you can work with that energy within your sacred space, within the middle world, to where you don't have to financially have the means to have all of the things in the here and now. You just have to set up that sacred space within your middle world. And that's something, if you would like assistance with, I am happy to guide you on that journey. There is tons of information on shamanic journeying within the Thinkific course, Shamanic Journeying 101, I believe is what it's called. I can drop the link here within the chat if you would like that. There's free previews to that as well, along with every single one of our courses on the Thinkific platform. So I will make sure to drop that link so that you can all take a look at that platform and check out those free previews. Doesn't cost a thing, but you will learn so much from those as well. Let's see, what else is there? The cleansing river is there, where you can quite literally cleanse away anything that you need to. The tree of life is there. The ability to move to the upper and the lower world, all of that happens within the middle world. Nature spirits are in the middle world. So if you like to work with elves, fairies, gnomes, your animal spirit guides, all of that. If you would like to work with the tree in your front yard, that is one of the most probably awe-inspiring journey I have ever done, is to meet each of the trees that are on my property. I love it. I love to know what they have seen, felt, and experienced. And you just get much more connected to that nature, that Mother Earth energy through that. And that's the amazing thing too with shamanic journeying. You don't have to have a thing to be able to do it except your mind and your heart. That's it. There are no tools that are must-haves that you have to be able to do it. It is an amazing modality and one of the first holistic cleansing healing modalities that has ever been used. So it's a tried and true practice for sure. There's also pathways to the moon and stars. So if you want to work with moon energy or sun energy or star energy, you can do that. You can meet other within the middle world. You can absolutely journey to different universes to meet perhaps different alien races, if that's your jam as well. Psychopomp work happens within the middle world. That's where you assist souls to transition if they have not on their own. So a ton of amazing things happen within the middle world. That is just to name a few. If you want more information on any of those, don't hesitate to drop that within the chat as well. Next question. What is the shamanic journey that I most often do? The journey that I would say I probably do most often is the journey to meet myself, to talk with my higher self, to try to grasp or gain insight and answers into a issue right now of what is the best path for me, what best serves me. So I love journeying to the middle world to just talk to me, honestly. You can also journey to the upper world to talk to you, but I find that the middle world it's easier to interpret the answers that you receive from the middle world because it's more present time lingo and language. So it's very easy to interpret the information that you get from the middle world. The second journey that I also do is probably most often, if not the same amount, honestly, is to journey to my sacred space that I have created within the middle world and to add to that sacred space and to work with it. This is something that for me is going to be a legacy that I pass down to my children. Both of my kids already journey to this middle world and add to our family altar space, our sacred space as well. The things that they find within that middle journey is truly awe-inspiring and life-changing even for me, because they are so much more open and easier. They just have an easier time, right, when you're young to access this information. You don't have the same filters and boundaries and nonsense that just kind of clutters everything up that we get as adults, because we're told, you know, a lot of times stuff isn't real. This is all made up. So that sacred space for me is something that certainly my family is going to be able to use that and work with that going forward as well. And I love the aspect of journeying with my children as well. It's just storytelling, right? Like, you just get into the story and then you're open to receive and add to your storyline. And kids love that kind of stuff. So it's a fantastic exercise to do with your children as well. And let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here within the chat. Hopefully the chat is working, because I don't believe that I see any questions coming in, but I see some of you on here with me, so hopefully this is working. I apologize if it's not letting you comment. That's unfortunate if that is doing that. The next question that was submitted was, when did my spiritual journey start? Well, I don't ever remember a time when I wasn't aware. And I use that word very intentionally, because I'm not a huge fan of awake. What does awake even mean? Aware to me seems more authentic to a spiritual journey. I don't remember a time where I wasn't aware that there was something more, or that I was more. I always felt special, so to speak, and different. I always felt very connected. And as a child, I was an only child, so this could go into it as well, but like the things I could come up with, the things that I was open to, the corresponding with myself, even with, I know it was spirit guides at that time. Now, I didn't know at that time that that's what I was corresponding with, but that openness to talk to the spirit guides, source energy. I never felt weird talking to source energy. And for me, source was found in nature. I did go to church as a child, of course, but for me, I was taught at a very early age from my grandmother that, you know, God is everywhere and we can talk to him freely anytime we want. There isn't a conduit that we have to go through in order for God to hear our prayers, so to speak. So I don't ever remember a time that I wasn't spiritually awake or on my spiritual journey. I always knew that there was something with a spiritual path for me. I would say, you know, when I think back to my time with especially Granny, I think at that time she was probably the only one that was aware as well, but she was far ahead of her times. There are things that I can remember her doing, like throwing salt on the floor and sweeping it up after somebody brought some bad energy into the house. Even her monthly maintenance, that was part of it, of throwing the salt on the floor and then sweeping it back up, placing eggshells outside her house for protection and in her garden beds, to ensure that, you know, it wards off any bad spirits growing within her vegetables and her flowers. One thing I laugh about now is she would always say the phrase, you always stir clockwise for your loved ones, counterclockwise if they're, you know, wink, wink. So there was so much of that I grew up with that I honestly thought that was normal life. So until I got out into the world, you know, high school, of course, jades us a bit because we get the judgmental energies and a lot more of that suffocating energy. But certainly high school, absolutely in college, I knew that what she had taught me was not the norm. So I would say that was when my awareness was brought to the forefront that this is probably not commonplace, and something even that maybe I shouldn't show to everyone. Maybe I shouldn't be as open with who I am. So I would say I had certainly that time space between 2003 to 2008, when I tried to turn it off. I tried to fit in. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be the cool kid. I wanted to have all of the friends. And those were the hardest years of my entire life. That is when I went through the most trauma within my life. I was a wreck. I was chaotic. I didn't like who I was. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't like who I was with even. All of the people that were around me in that time and space, I can't say all, right? The vast majority of them were lessons, we'll call them. They were lessons on who I wasn't and who I didn't want to be, and they were hard lessons. So that was a difficult time span for me, but I needed, I think, to realize what exactly I'm here to do. I don't think without those hard lessons, I would have found my true path. I certainly wouldn't have had the confidence that I do today. I would have been a very, very different person had that not happened. So I'm grateful for those years, and I'm grateful that they were a small amount of years that I had to experience that. Trying to think if there was a pivotal moment after those years when I came back to who I was. I can't remember any one specific instance when I came back to who I was, but I became very, very intentional with my spiritual journey and learning and practicing my spiritual journey and gifts. In 2012 is when I really started wanting to learn more. I had that desire to learn more. I had the desire to use what I already knew. So I went back to those old things that Granny had taught me that were, it felt good. I felt like I was me. I felt like I was doing the things that I was meant to do. And with that, by that time, she was gone. So I had kind of, well, not in 2012, but shortly after that. But when I had moved into that, I had lost that resource of information, right? My aunt, Rachel, was also very much into the spiritual journey with crystals and Reiki, so I had that source to pull from as well, and she was fantastic moving back into my spiritual awareness and journey. So I had a lot of that exponential growth again because I had that guidance from family that were already practicing. I started taking a ton of courses. I was investing in myself to remember what I already knew, right? Because it's probably not necessarily learning anything new, and that's true for all of us. We're not learning something new. We're remembering. We're going through that remembering process, and every class that I took, I had more and more remembering of who I was in my heart space. I became very, very open to everything in 2015, which is when I got pregnant with my son. And that was an amazing, well, I got pregnant with my son in 2014. I had him in 2015. But the openness that I felt through pregnancy was like nothing I had ever experienced. And I knew then that I was going to do this as my profession. This was my calling, and I was going to do this with other people that were not just family. So I've been practicing professionally from 2015, obviously, till now. I will never be doing anything different than this. I will forever be on this journey now because I feel happy. You know you're in the right space when you're content, when you want to do what you love. And I love this work. So I hope that answers that question. I know it's kind of a really long drawn out, but this is one that I wanted to be very intentional with of when did I really become intentional? So I would say 2015 was when I became extremely invested in doing this as a profession, and I would have been 28. So I would have been 28, I believe. Does that sound right? I think so. I think, yes, I would have been 28 when I really started doing this professionally. But it's something that I grew up with, though, too. So kind of a dual-ended answer there, right? Next question, how to energetically unblock chakras while you're working to live the way that keeps them flowing properly. I love this question. And I posed this question to all of you, but when you think about that, what does working mean to you? When you are working to live, what does that mean? I want you just to take a moment and reflect on just that. What do you feel? What do you think? What does that mean to you? While you're working to live the way that keeps you flowing. Working to live to me sounds like hard work. It sounds to me like there's a little bit of resistance there and like it's trudging uphill. It doesn't have to be trudging uphill. So how to energetically unblock chakras while doing life. We should enjoy life. We should enjoy the living process. We get to do it probably more than one time, in my opinion, but no experience will ever be the same. So I intend to enjoy every single one of those lives. The main thing that I would say is the way you stay unblocked, the way you stay open and flowing is through routine. It is literally just like those mundane routines. How do you not get a cavity? You brush and floss your teeth every single day, hopefully twice a day. But all of those things that you do that are mundane to keep from having things be like work in life is a routine. You set a routine and you do that. Energetic hygiene is just as important as physical hygiene here in the mundane world. So the importance for me of routine, why is routine important? Routine is important because when you're in a routine, you routinely check in with how you're doing. You can routinely see, feel, hear, think about what your baseline is. What does normal truly feel like? You know what normal feels like when you're in a routine because you do it every day. So when something is off, when you're used to a routine and a routine feeling, you know instantly something is off. It doesn't have time to fester. It doesn't have time to progress into truly physical dis-ease because you're aware of it almost instantaneously. That's why routine is important. That's why routine is important for everyone. I mean, kids know I get up at this time, I eat breakfast at this time, we're going to go play outside at this time, we're going to go, eat lunch, take a nap, and then we're going to repeat our day. Why do they like routine? Because it's a safety experience. They know that they're safe and protected because they know what to expect. The same is true with us and our energetic hygiene. We feel safe, secure, and protected when we know what to expect. We know what normal feels like, so we're instantly aware of what normal does not feel like. Like when something is out of whack, you know it, and then you can address it. The way to energetically unblock your chakras and stay that way so that you're always in flow is to have an energetic hygiene routine. For me, the easiest routine that I do this every single day. So in the morning, light column activation absolutely is going to happen. I like to take a short journey in the morning to ask my ancestors, angels, spirit guides, source energy, anyone who wants to come in that's serving my best good. What is my priority to work on today? What is the number one thing that I need to focus my energy on today? I absolutely intentionally work with one crystal every single day. And if I'm working with a crystal, I will be working with that crystal for at least 3 days, sometimes more, but never less. You need that 3-day transition time to really tap into the crystal energy and to harmonize with it so that you match its frequency, which is the whole point of the scientific premise of crystal healing, right? Is they have a very baseline, it never moves. They have that crystalline structure, so their frequency stays the same, and we want different areas within our being and body to match that specific frequency that they possess. So I'm going to work with that crystal every single day intentionally. What do I mean by intentionally? I will intentionally choose a crystal and sit with it for at least 5 to 15 minutes every single day and be open to receive anything that it has, whether that be physical, emotional healing, whether it just be, help me understand something, help me feel something. But intentional means 5 to 15 minutes every day with a specific crystal for at least 3 days. At night, I'm definitely sleeping with the same crystal that I'm working with throughout the day. But I'm also doing the energy prayer that I have given you all within the Thinkific platform group, where we release all energy that is not our own, and we call back all energy of our own that we have lost throughout the day. Every day. That has to happen. Now, I will say that light column activation can happen more times for me than just once, depending upon if there are stressors. The other amazing technique that I've implemented because of Janessa with Fiercely Radiant Soul is tapping. If stressors come in, stressors are going to go out by light column activation and or tapping. But I'm not going to sit in that stress mode. If you have the tools to not have to work to live your life the way you want to live, why wouldn't you use them? Tapping and light column activation happens more than once per day if there are stressors. So that is the energetic routine that I keep. There are some other things that can come in, certainly, with that, but those are my must-haves every single day. The next question is, how do I ground myself while at work as I seem to get very dizzy? So when I'm feeling into this question specifically, I want you to really take note and be intentional about this. Do you get dizzy when there are certain people, certain topics, or specific environmental factors that come into play when you feel that dizzy? I want you to be very intentional about that and even journal if you can to see when it happens and if you can identify those three things. Now, regardless of what you identify, this all comes back to boundaries, 100%. The boundaries, more than likely, at one or multiple of the 4 layers of energetic boundaries are not established at 100%, which means you don't have 100% boundaries working for your being at all times. The 4 boundaries are physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual. If you do pendulum or muscle testing, I would definitely recommend that you test each of those boundaries and ask the question, do I have 100% emotional boundaries established at all times? And then move through the other 3 as well and see where you're at. I can tell you that based on the fact that you are getting dizzy and even referring to grounding, at least one of those boundaries is not installed and working for you at 100%. So that's the first thing you need to do, is install those boundaries at 100%. Coincidentally, that is what Janessa and I are doing within the membership site this month, is helping you all with boundaries. Boundaries is our focus. So if you would like more information on that, again, go to that Thinkific site and take a look at those live sessions if that's something that interests you in doing one-on-one in a group setting, of course, but energy work that works specifically for you and where you're at. Janessa and I do 2 of those live sessions and help you reestablishing boundaries is just one of the few things that we work through. But we are truly working through patterns that are creating, disharmony, pain, suffering, all of that within your life. Dizziness certainly is not something I would want to experience. You also made a comment that you already carry black obsidian, and I'm so happy that you posted that because that was going to be something that I would talk about anyways. Black obsidian is meant, specifically just the black. I'm not talking about rainbow or gold sheen or silver sheen obsidian, but straight up black obsidian is meant to block all things. Think about that for a minute. It blocks absolutely everything. Your emotions, how you actually feel, how others feel, any physical disharmony that could be going on from you or others, spiritual, intuition, intuitiveness, your psychic gifts. It blocks everything so that you don't feel much of anything. It's also one of those crystals that, because you're not tapping into anything really, so we're not supporting our solar plexus, our heart, our crown, our transpersonal chakras, we're supporting none of those. We are only functioning on our root chakra, and we are blocking everything from coming into our root chakra. No fight responses, no flight responses, no freeze responses, no fawning responses. You're kind of just sitting in limbo. When you're not used to just sitting in limbo, and you are, which no one is, mind you, That's not somewhere we want to be. When you're not used to that, you're not open within your heart space, but you're not open even within your head space. So you're going to get dizzy. You're going to feel like you are in energetic overload almost. So black obsidian is one of those that, in my opinion, should not be used more than 15-minute increments. It should certainly not be worn on the body at all times. So first thing, I rescind my previous response. First thing, lose the black obsidian. Don't use that every single day. Certainly don't have it on your body. Then establish your boundaries. And once you release that black obsidian from its duties to block all things from you, you're going to be able to easier figure out what is preventing you from feeling like you're safe. Because that's really what we're talking about, right? Like when we carry things like black obsidian for protection, we're carrying it because we don't feel safe. We don't feel like our boundaries will be held. We don't feel supported in that. I would say if you are looking for crystal recommendations to help you, aura quartz, the natural aura quartz, because it naturally helps you reestablish boundaries at all 4 of those levels. Natural aura quartz would be amazing for you to carry. Also, healer's gold, Pneumite, or Epido. Those are the 4 that I would recommend if you want support at work. I love Pneumite at work. I have a Pneumite necklace. Whenever I go into the office, you will typically always see me wearing Pneumite, or I will have a Pneumite in my pocket. I like Pneumite because it supports and protects at the root chakra, but it keeps me open to receive messages and my intuition at the crown and transpersonal chakras. So I'm still have my spidey senses going, allowing me to interpret and receive feedback from other energetic beings, right? From other people. I want that energetic feedback from other people because I want to be able to intuitively tap into that, but I don't want to feel violated by it. I am very, very clairsentient, which is essentially an empath on steroids. But my boundaries at all 4 levels around my clairsentience, thank you, Janessa, are now 100% established. I was very reactive in the sense of breaking down crying, which if any of you know me, crying's not my jam. That's not a thing that I typically do. But I was crying. I would find myself just instantly crying, not watching the news, not focused on anything, but I was tapping into what is currently going on in Ukraine. And I wasn't aware of it because I didn't have 100% spiritual boundaries around my clairsentience. So I was just constantly being hit with that spiritual clairsentience of the pain and suffering that is happening in Ukraine right now. And it was hitting me so hard in clairsentience, which happens in my heart chakra, that tears would happen. So there's one example of why energetic boundaries are super, super important to have at all levels. I didn't notice my clairsentience being on whack any other time when I was physically in the presence of someone or even emotionally processing something. And it was literally only the spiritual level boundary that I didn't have at 100% establishment. So very, very important to make sure that all 4 of those levels are 100% working for you in all of those respects, because you don't want your clairsentience to go out on, like, go rogue essentially and do what it wants and be open to all messages and reception. So long story on that as well, but crystal options also, no more black obsidian every day, and energetic boundaries. Next question is, what is the best crystal to use to let go of control? Close to the same response before, right? Because why do you feel like you need to control something? Because you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe, and that's why you feel like you have to control everything around you, your environment, the way everything functions around you. When you feel like you're really hitting that control need, again, I'm going to send you back to the energetic boundaries. You need to reestablish energetic boundaries to make sure that you have that safety bubble working for you. When I think of control, I also very much go to, you don't trust yourself necessarily, or perhaps you don't trust others. So you feel like everything has to be in place so that nothing can get out of place because you don't trust yourself or others to think on the fly and know what to do. So celestite is a crystal that I would work with. I would also take a look at Herkimer diamonds. And 2 more, Epido and rutilated quartz. Those are the 4 that I would look at if you're trying to let go of control. Again, you're wanting to establish boundaries and trust within yourself. Communication goes into that, but also a lot of that solar plexus support and root support as well. So those are the 4 that I would look at for what crystal is best to let go of control. And this last question that was sent, oh, this one is a long one too. Can you explain how to cut cords with everyone? Oh, that says so much in one small sentence. So first, what's a cord mean to you? What are cords? Cords are connections or contracts between individuals, between people. So when you think about that, even in a mundane sense, you probably don't want to sever all connections or contracts, right? That may not be best serving. There's also different cords. We have life energy cords. We have codependent contracts or bargaining cords. We also have things like curses that form cords between people, right? Curses, of course, codependent contracts or bargains. Yes, we want to cut that, but what you're wanting to truly cut is the energy exchange that is happening that is not serving either individual's highest good. And really, when you're saying you want to cut cords, what you're really saying is that you want to relieve yourself from stress, anxiety, the struggle, the pain, the sadness, the grief that comes along with that energetic exchange that you're happening. Truly, you're asking to be relieved of the suffering that comes along with that. It's not necessarily the person, right? So we don't necessarily need to cut the cord with the person, but what we need to do is sever the energetic exchange that's not best serving us. So when you're thinking about that, the thing I will tell you with cords is what is most important is to cut the cord with love. You want to release the energy with love. You don't want to do it out of anger. You don't want to do it out of rage. You don't want to do it out of grudge behavior. You want to truly be in a space where you can release that cord and person with love. Doesn't mean you have to want that person in your life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to be balanced and in a space where you can say, you know what, I've looked at this big picture, I've felt into the energy, and at this point, it is something that I just need to really let go of, this energetic stagnation or hurt that's coming within this cord. But at the same time, I want you to go and find the relief that I have found as well. Cord cutting from a crystal healing standpoint is going to happen with selenite, black obsidian, and sulfur. Sometimes brucite, depending upon what's going on. But those are the 4 crystals that I use when I am performing cord cuttings from a crystal healing standpoint. Cord cutting from shamanic earth medicine, we're going to journey to the middle world. You're going to correspond with whomever it is that we are cutting cords with, and you're going to release yourself from any contracts that you have signed with that person, and you're also going to release them with any soul contracts that they have signed with you. And again, you're going to have that conversation of, this is how I felt, this is what it did, I want to hear you out as well. So you let them tell you, and then you have the conversation of letting them go with love, and vice versa. If there's anything they need to let you know or leave with you for you to take back, for you to release, you're going to have that whole conversation in that middle world with that individual on that shamanic journey. And then you're both going to go your separate ways. Now, Janessa has always brought up an amazing topic with cord cutting, right? Because mainstream tells you, right, when you're cord cutting, you're completely cutting the cord. Connection gone, right? No connection. But aren't we all connected at a collective consciousness level? How do you cut the cord completely when we are connected from a collective consciousness level? And why would you want to? Because at a soul level, that individual that perhaps is not functioning very well with you on this here and now is still a being of light and love. They may have some issues, some trauma responses that they are working through. They're still God's creation, or that source energy extension. Whatever verbiage you would want to use with that. They were still source created, and as all of us were. So we're all part of each other. You're not trying to sever the connection with that soul level energy. You just don't want to partake in the energy of the here and now that's not serving either one of you. So for me, that's really, really important to understand. When we're doing cord cutting, we are not cutting the cord from the collective consciousness, the soul level, the higher self that the two individuals are. We're releasing each other from the contracts of needing to drain each other, perhaps of energy. It's really just a releasing of the contracts that we signed that were not serving our highest good. So those were the questions that were submitted ahead of time. If this is something that you guys like, please don't hesitate to ask for more. I'm always happy to do these. I love knowing what is on your mind and what is important to you, because that's really what we're here to do, is to make sure that we are addressing issues that are important to you, that are causing pain, strain, things just not flowing for you in a very fluid, happy, and harmonious manner. So certainly we're looking for your feedback on what types of topics you would like us to address, because that's what we want to do. We want to support you on your journey. We are going to update the time of the membership live sessions to 7 p.m. We've gotten a lot of feedback that 5 p.m. Central Time was not a fabulous time slot for a lot of people, so we're updating to the 7 p.m. time slot. So look forward to that. If you want more information on the membership itself, you can reach out to myself or Janessa. There's a ton of information here within the group as well. But I hope to connect with each and every one of you, and I so appreciate each of you spending your time here with me tonight. And I hope you have an amazing Virgo full moon, and take advantage of the energies every single chance you get. Hard energy, things that feel difficult can bring so much spiritual growth that I would hate to see anyone waste that opportunity. Look at everything like an opportunity and not a punishment, and you will see things feel very, very different for you going through this life. And so with that, I am going to release you all back to your amazing night, and universal blessings, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic weekend.